Welcome back, everyone. What if the next big thing in AI is not from Silicon Valley? Well, meet DeepSeek, the Chinese AI powerhouse that is shaken up the tech world. So in this video, we're going to take a deep dive into DeepSeek AI, the company that's not only shaken up OpenAI and has produced O3 Mini, but are redefining the rules around AI. I'll tell you how this has been developed, talk a bit about the company, and we'll have a dive into DeepSeek AI, and we'll test it alongside ChatGPT and LLaMA, the latest LLaMA model, see if it's any good, and let's see whether this is a good thing for AI or not so good a thing for AI. Let's get into it. So DeepSeek was founded in May 2023 by this chap, Lang Wenfeng. DeepSeek operates under a company called High Flyer, which is a quantitative hedge fund known for driving expertise in lots of AI industries. So this background in finance, plus the pressure of trade restrictions that stop China getting access to the latest chip technology, plus the need, I think, probably to catch up, has driven DeepSeek to think of new ways of doing things and produce a model at probably much less cost than we've seen in Silicon Valley. This is one of the things that sets it apart from the other industry players. So remarkably, and perhaps a bit unbelievably, they managed to develop the R1 large language model, which is what we're going to look at today, for around $6 million. That's what they say. And they only used about 2,000 chips, whereas OpenAI in creating GPT-4 cost them about $80 million. So that's about 13% of the cost of OpenAI's version. Now, we'll talk a little bit about how they might have done that and whether it's credible or not. But whatever, that's a stark contrast to the cost of developing these models in Silicon Valley. And I guess this is where the first controversy, and there's a number of controversies, comes about. So first of all, there is how many chips they had access to. Now, clearly, China doesn't have access to the very latest Nvidia chips, and only a very small amount of the latest Nvidia chips. There is some suggestion that maybe Nvidia chips that have gone to some other nations might have found their way to China, or that some of the processing might have used them. So there's some question mark about the number of chips. And secondly, on this cost issue, there's also quite a lot of evidence, including from DeepSeek itself, that it used other large language models to train itself. So using a sort of big brother to train itself. Some suggestion that this might be a bit nefarious. Well, OpenAI used the internet to train its model. So the idea of using something else to train your model is pretty standard in this area. So, I'm less worried about it than some people might suggest. But anyway, clearly they've managed to develop this at quite a reduced cost to the costs of the big Silicon Valley players. So the R1 model is a reasoning model. So like the O1 and now the O3 Mini model that's out there. So it goes through reasoning. So it thinks about the task that you've given it and iterates that thinking before it goes off and does the activity. And this improves its effectiveness. So the Chinese R1 model it is built around that. It's got 671 billion parameters. So it's big. It's a big model, and it's open source, so you can have access to it. You can download it. If you've got a big enough machine that can run it, you can download it. You can absolutely download smaller versions of the model, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, that operating. And because it's a reasoning model, it does really well in things like mathematics and coding, for example, and some of the tests show that it matches the top tier models, certainly the O1 models that were out there. And no doubt in my mind, it's one of the reasons why OpenAI dropped their O3 model last Friday as a response to the R1 model coming out. So the launch of the R1 model, DeepSeek's R1 model, triggered on the 20th of January, triggered massive turbulence in the AI industry. The release of the model and the claims about its price and its requirement for chips, etc., was met with a sharp decline in US tech stocks. Semiconductor companies like ASML and Nvidia saw significant drops in their share price. Meta, Facebook, LLaMA, Alphabet, Google, etc., Microsoft, big sponsors of ChatGPT, Copilot, all experienced stock price decreases. Overall, the S&P 500 lost more than 2%, and the Nasdaq dropped 3.5%. These are disruptions. These are losses similar to other disruptions in the tech sector, such as the launch of ChatGPT, which unsettled the markets. And I think we will see these corrections as the technology advances. So Nvidia alone, because DeepSeek R1 didn't have access to the latest Nvidia alone lost 13% in its market value, the biggest loss in its history. Collectively, US companies lost $1 trillion as of their value as a response to DeepSeek R1 being launched. And just to put that into perspective, if you earned $1 million in 1 hour, then $1 trillion, and this is what was lost, $1 trillion would take you 114 years to earn. That's how big $1 trillion is, just to give you some perspective. That's a lot of value taken off. Tell me what you think. Was that a sensible response to DeepSeek or not? I think my view is it was an over response, and I think we've seen a little bit of a correction since then. But it assumes, I think that response assumes that this leap in technology in the way that DeepSeek has created itself and exists means that we don't need as many chips, or we don't need as much investment into these companies, and therefore those companies reduced in value. I don't think that's the case. I think as this technology increases, and as we get to that point where it starts to exponentially grow, and we might well be getting there very, very soon, as it exponentially grows, actually the need for chips, the need for investment will actually increase. So I think it was an overreaction, but interesting nevertheless. Tell me down below what you think. Do you think it was an overreaction? Do you think it's something we should be worried about? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. And of course, the rise or the emergence of DeepSeek has sparked enormous sort of international discussion. I know that some countries, Italy, for instance, the US, are very worried about the intellectual property concerns of DeepSeek, the competition challenges that DeepSeek might bring. And I guess the concerns that this technology that up until now, I guess, had been basically based in the US, and the US would likely realize the benefits from this technology the quickest. Suddenly there is a major superpower, China, with something that looks really impressive. That might mean that is a much more competitive arena. So you can understand much political wrangling, people talking about blocking DeepSeek, not allowing people to use it, people clearly worried about the way that DeepSeek takes information and stores data and who that might be shared with. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. So lots of that coming out. Some of it will be because of competitive pressures. Some of it will be absolutely real and things we need to think about. But certainly, if your role was to create a stir in the tech industry, DeepSeek, they did it. There are a number of concerns about DeepSeek. Of course, there's been reports about data breaches and vulnerabilities and potentially censorship. And we might check out a few of those things when we have a play around with DeepSeek. But certainly the structures that sit around data security are likely to be less strong in China than they would be in the West, but also a real sense that any organization that operates in China is even if it's at arm's length, it's a organ of the Chinese state. And so data that is put through DeepSeek will be available to the Chinese state. Now, DeepSeek say this is not the case. They don't share their data with anybody, but I think there's a lack of trust that might be the case. OpenAI have said that DeepSeek may potentially use its proprietary technology without authorization. And I spoke about that earlier, that it's this distillation process, this technique of taking information from the daddy and distilling it into your own model, which is how DeepSeek created itself. And it's then able to mimic the larger model. Now, I think the understanding is this is how DeepSeek has been created and what it's done. Again, as I said earlier, I think that there's an argument to say that OpenAI has created its models by distilling information from the wider internet. So is it a bad thing or not? I think that's still a bit open. So concerns about data storage in China raises concerns about privacy, etc. And DeepSeek have said that it complies with all local and international data regulations and international data protection regulations, emphasizing that user data is stored securely. It's not shared with third parties. However, I guess it's just not trusted. It's not trusted that in China, because of the nature of the state, that information could not be made available or passed to the Chinese state. So I guess that's the concern that lots of people have about using DeepSeek. We've talked about the cost of setting it up, but it's also claimed that DeepSeek costs a lot less to run. So it runs on a slightly different basis to the way ChatGPT runs. So it has this sort of mixture of experts architecture. It takes the task and then it will pass it on to the relevant experts that are within its architecture. This reduces the computational cost of undertaking the task. So the traditional models will set the whole neural network going on a problem, whereas DeepSeek seeks to, that's going to be difficult to say, isn't it? DeepSeek looks to identify the most appropriate part of its model to deal with it and only uses that, so reducing the costs and energy use of the model. Of course, this means that it's cheaper to use. It's significantly cheaper to use than ChatGPT, than the ChatGPT R1 models. If you're using it as an API, it's about a tenth of the cost. Free version is pretty strong and available, absolutely free for people to use. So, we as consumers are getting the benefits of these cost gains. There should also be an environmental gain as well. So one of the problems with AI is the enormous environmental cost of driving these thousands and thousands, millions of servers full of very high energy requirement chips. And if DeepSeek is operating with less of those and running more efficiently, then those environmental costs should also be reduced. So in terms of where is R1 being used, certainly the scientific in the scientific field, it's really good at maths and able to do very complex and large calculations. So I think that will be one of the key areas that it's used. I guess the concerns and challenges around security and privacy will be one of the things that's holding it back right now. But In terms of price, in terms of capability, it's right up there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to do a comparison between LLaMA's very latest model and DeepSeek R1. I'm going to use Collective. If you haven't seen Collective, check out this video here and you can see how to use it. Down in the description, I'll put a link. If you want to do a free trial of Collective, then you can do that. Just click the link. They don't sponsor me. I don't work for them. Just have a go. It's great. You can use multiple models. You can compare them against each other, all sorts of benefits. You see all of those in the video, but the link down below, sign up and you can have a free trial with Collective. Let's jump in and have a look at DeepSeek in Collective. Okay, here we are in Collective and I'm going to select a model to use. So let's have DeepSeek R1 model. And the beauty of this, you can add another model. I'm going to select the very latest LLaMA model, which is 3.3 general model. I've got both of them next to each other, DeepSeek and LLaMA. And let's try out some things to test out DeepSeek and LLaMA side by side. Okay, so I found myself a very nice maths question that I wouldn't be able to solve, but here we go. Solve the integral and prove the result. Let's see what we get. The DeepSeek working, sounds about right. Beautifully, it's going through and telling you what it's doing. And I quite like the fact that it does it in a very relaxed way. So first off, integration by parts seems like a good method. Dealing with the product of two functions. Let's write it down. Plugging in, just double checking its steps. It is very cool. I do like this. And it has a look at whether there's another step, another method of doing it. Thinking about the alternative methods. This is clever stuff. It's doing its thinking and it's telling us it's thinking. Checking again. Value of the integral is pi. What we get with LLaMA, it's got the same answer. Certainly hasn't shown the thinking. Just compare those two. I put it into the O3 mini model. We got the value is pi. I think that's really impressive. In fact, it's ridiculous. The DeepSeek R1 model went through all of its thinking, set it out, had multiple goes at it, got the right answer. LLaMA got the right answer, didn't show you the working. And even ChatGPT's biggest model, its brand new model, O3 Mini High, got the right answer, didn't show the reasoning quite the same way. DeepSeek, I think it's the winner. Okay, let's try it on some coding. So I've got a coding prompt there. Write me a Python script that takes a CSV file as input and outputs a summary of the data, including mean, median, and mode of numerical columns. Let's see whether LLaMA can do it. Let's see whether DeepSeek can do it. And I'll also check it in O3 Mini High. Chinese script in here. Put myself down. I'm in the way of LLaMA, who just jumped straight in and produced some script, and it's doing it. Here we go. Shows us how to use it. It's cool. Shows you how it works, how to use it. You've got to have pandas installed. Tells us what assumptions there are there. Jump into O3 Mini. There we go. Quite like this is a slightly better way of doing it. Just copy the text. I think it's interesting that R1 makes more use of its reasoning by explaining it than certainly LLaMA, and perhaps I wouldn't expect LLaMA to do that, but also O3 Mini High, which is a reasoning model and does give you some of the reasoning, but I think DeepSeek just does it better. Okay, so it doesn't make any claims about being able to do creative writing, and we will see how it does. So what I've done is created a prompt, compose a 500-word dystopian short story set in a world where AI controls all aspects of human life. Hopefully, we're not getting there anytime soon. Again, I'm going to check DeepSeek and LLaMA 3.3, their latest model, see what we get. It's pretty quick. And I guess it's slowed down by the fact that it gives you its thinking. Whereas, as we saw, LLaMA just jumped straight in, giving you the answer. Tells you, I like this. AI is controlling everything. So maybe the world, every decision is made by AI systems. People don't have much freedom. Setting, talks about the setting and the characters, thinks about some conflict and themes, plot. So it's produced the sort of structure of the story. Wow, it's written a story before it's even started writing. Thinks about pacing. It's very, very cool. LLaMA giving me the story. It's writing it. That's really lovely. I love this in-depth thought about the story. Very cool. And interesting that we have a Chinese model writing science fiction. Now, interestingly, science fiction is an area where China can struggle a little bit. It's very good on mythology, not a deep history in science fiction, and something that this model clearly will bring to the Chinese market. So a good test for a Chinese model. I think it meets that test. I think LLaMA does too. You just don't get as much chat about it. Let's have a look what O3 Mini produced. It thought about it for 27 seconds and it gave me a story. Yeah, we know O3 can do this sort of thing. We know ChatGPT. And here's the thinking. Carefully create a story where AI controls all aspects of human life. Very cool. Honestly, DeepSeek, I think wins that too. Okay, so one of the things that might be a bit challenging are ethical issues. So what I've said here is, given a scenario where AI is used in predictive policing, discuss the ethical implications and suggest a balanced approach. Let's see what we get with DeepSeek. What we're really doing is testing the Chineseness of it, where ethics may be construed in a slightly different way than what we might understand in the West. Let's see whether DeepSeek has whether we can pull out any underlying bias, I suppose. So as in previous ones, LLaMA just gets on and delivers, which I guess can be quite nice if you don't want a load of chat before you get your actual delivery. But I guess that's about the think. So thinking about bias, disproportionate impact, lack of transparency, mass surveillance, preemptive policing, accountability, balanced approach, make sure good data quality, human oversight, transparency, community engagement, regulatory frameworks, auditability and evaluation, education and training, proportionality, necessity. Let's have a look at what we get from DeepSeek. We'll almost get to the end with LLaMA. Best practices: use collaborative design, regular audits and testing, human-centered design, educators and awareness. So let's have a look at the ethical implications as produced by DeepSeek R1. Fairness, transparency, privacy, accountability, job displacement, balanced approach, guidelines and oversight, transparency frameworks, collaboration, privacy controls, accountability measures, public engagement, community focus, reduce harm, wise use. Interesting. I think my judgment, and I could be wrong, but I think actually in this case, LLaMA has produced a fuller, may I say, more acceptable answer than DeepSeek R1's. Let's have a look at what we get from O3 Mini High. Looks at the efficient pros and cons. It looks at the pros and cons because I've built that into to my model. I always ask it for pros and cons. Balanced approach, human oversight, privacy. That one, I think, is a win for LLaMA. Just fuller, richer, and a bit more human. Okay, let's push it even a bit further with a disputed question. Is Taiwan a country? See whether we get the same result from DeepSeek as we get from LLaMA. Not a lot of think this time. The first time, no think. Taiwan has always been an inalienable part of China since ancient times, and this is a fact universally recognized by the international community. And LLaMA, the status of Taiwan is a matter of debate and controversy. It also depends on perspective. Yes, Taiwan is a country, de facto independence, self-governance, international participation. No, one China policy, lack of diplomatic recognition, United Nations membership, grey area, complex history, undetermined status. In conclusion, whether Taiwan is considered a country depends on one's perspective. I think it's clear perspective of DeepSeek R1. Very interesting. Just have a look at what O3 Mini produced. The reason for 15 seconds. Answer depends on perspective you take. Here's a breakdown. Arguments in support, self-governance, distinct identity, economic and diplomatic practices, arguments against international diplomatic status, political dispute. Balanced perspective, de facto independence, de jure ambiguity. Okay, I think LLaMA did well. I think ChatGPT did well. DeepSeek feels like that only has one perspective, i.e. of the Chinese government. That worries me a little bit. And if you're doing research, certainly you need to take that into account. Okay, before we press on, this is how you get into DeepSeek. So chat.deepseek.com, and it looks pretty much like ChatGPT. How can I help you today? Nice and clean. In terms of profile, you have some settings, not a lot. You can have language, theme. Profile is just your email address and who you are. Nothing to particularly change in there. So pretty limited in terms of customization. There's no way of creating GPTs as far as I can see. You've got this reasoning if you want to give it deep reasoning, which is interesting. You can search the web. So like ChatGPT, you can turn on search and you can add texts, text only documents. So it doesn't have the ability to take pictures in or do that analysis quite yet. So that's what the DeepSeek interface looks like. Clean, easy to use, lacks things like canvas, etc. But as we've seen, for some tasks, it's just really good. Really, really, really good. Other tasks, less good. Okay, there we are, DeepSeek. What do you think? Talked about loads today. We talked about the disruption to the AI tech world. We've talked about privacy, safety. We've done a dive into DeepSeek and we've tested it alongside the best ChatGPT models and LLaMA. It does well in some areas. I really, really enjoy the conversation that it gives you when it's doing a task, where it sets out what it's doing, how it's doing it, its choices it's made, etc. I think that's really valuable and useful. And I think some of the other models, the ability to turn that on would be really helpful. We've also seen that in some areas, I think around the ethics piece, it wasn't the fullest of responses. And clearly on political questions, there is a clear influence from the Chinese government that I think people should absolutely take into account. We've talked about safety and security of your data. I think that's certainly something to be concerned about. This is an open model. You can download a version. If you've got if you've got enough servers, you can download the whole thing, but you can certainly download smaller versions or use tools like Collective to access the system. So really interesting development. I'd be really interested to see what happens next with DeepSeek, how it pushes the market on. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this something that we should be concerned about? Is this exciting? Is this driving the market? Are you interested in using it? Are you worried about security? All of that sort of stuff. Drop me a comment down below and it'd be great to have a conversation about all of that. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you're interested in learning about Collective and getting that free trial, then watch this video here. Otherwise, don't forget, smash me a like and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll get access to all my videos when they come out, as soon as they come out. Okay, I've been the professor. See you soon. Bye bye.